Hi everyone, it's Jody here from MINDSETA. I'm in London. I got on Avanti trains to meet this guy, Danny.
Hi everyone.
Price. Introduce yourself, Danny.
My name is Danny fucking Price, actually.
Yeah.
But, you know, for this, we'll call it Danny Price. Why not? My name is Danny Price, and I am the best way to describe it is I am a dickhead on the internet. We went to school, went to the same school. I was in the same year as your brother.
Yeah.
And we were really good friends. And yeah, I talk about, I don't know, societal issues, politics. I talk about women's rights. I talk about masculinity and toxicity, and you know, Donald Trump being a knob, and pretty much everything else to do with governments.
So yeah. I've reached out to Danny because he does speak about a whole range of things, and he's an educator, and MINDSETA, it is a training and education company. I want to go into schools, workplace, communities and educate people and make society and culture transformation a better place. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the world, you're talking about today's culture and today's issues behind all your ranting.
Yeah. Ranting is a good word. I mean, it is ranting.
You have an important message in everything you say, and you educate people. You know, I go onto your page when there is something going on in the news because I know that you're going to educate, and you break it down in your Sunday videos. You know, talk about that, because that's what's good about your videos, is that you unpack all the news of the week and actually talk about it, give your opinion, and come at it at a perspective that most of us are thinking but can't articulate. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, Things Noticed is like a video that they go up pretty much every Sunday, although like I haven't done one in a couple of weeks because I've been in Barcelona. Must be nice. But no, I get the week's news and I just make it, everything is facts-based. Everything is an absolute fact. But then I just make it understandable and digestible for people, and then it's got my opinion attached to it, which is like a good way to deliver the news, because it means that I'm not doing it for a channel. I'm not compromised by any company or business or oligarch or anything like that, and I think it's the best way to deliver this authentic take on the week's news. And I translate that into my post as well, where it's like between 10 and 20 slides, and it's just sort of sound bites in sort of text form and just very relatable language that people can understand and sort of be like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand what this is about. Like, whereas up until recently, or still now, the media has been making various societal issues complex. Where the way I see it is, like, I'm obsessed with breaking it down and just getting it as sort of basic as possible so that people can understand. The media makes things complex because, you know, they are owned by, many of them are owned by the government. I mean, you only have to look at the BBC to see that, like, the executives at the BBC are Tory donors, and you only have to look at Rupert Murdoch as well from The Sun and whatever to realise that the media is compromised, and they deliberately make things too sort of hard to understand for people. So my mission for the last like 5 years has been to sort of break everything down and make people understand. And you know what? Some people might not agree with it, but the facts are generally the facts. And like the only thing you can really not agree with is if you're a total fucking prick or just don't like me. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is, like, you know, it's important what your platform and what you put out there, because, you know, I go into schools and I go into workplaces and I help support behaviours and make sure everyone in the workplace is treated with dignity and respect. And the number one issue everyone talks about now is outside influences affecting the workplace. So like I said, what you see on the news, what you see on TikTok, what are people engaging with outside of work, and then they're coming into work the next day and then behaving in a way towards maybe some marginalised people in their workplace, or their teachers, or, you know, or female teachers. So all these online presence and platforms do fuel a lot of biases, racism, misogyny in the workplace. So for someone like me, I need to go into his workplace and try and help fix it. And we've got all this influence outside, all these news channels
Yeah.
that are influencing negative stereotypes. Let's call it for what it is. All this news and all this information, the way that they're presenting it makes people form negative stereotypes against groups of people.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what has happened over the last few years in a very concentrated period of time is, well, back in like the late 80s, 90s, when we were kids, our influences would be parents and television, and there wasn't millions or even billions of videos on social media. There wasn't social media. Our predominant influences came from our parents and the people around our parents, and they were generally quite good. You know, we all remember the stereotype of the kid that was a bully at school probably had bad parenting.
Yeah.
You know, now imagine that just with a kid who has access to millions and millions and millions of videos, and there are people out there that are making millions and millions and millions of videos as a way to make money. Do you know what I mean? A way to, let's be honest, it's bigots making videos that want to. What it is everybody wants you to think the way that they think. And if a guy can make money out of that, then that's exactly what they're going to do. And that's exactly what they're doing. And in short, that means there are not enough people doing what I'm doing. There are not enough programs, individuals. And I think that is because we have been sort of set on this path that we have to have fucking 3 jobs and a side hustle to be able to get by. Now, fortunately, I worked my entire young adult life, and now that I don't get paid for doing stuff on fucking social media, but I have set up my life in a way that I can concentrate on that. Whereas that's really fortunate, but other people don't have that. So now there are people out there that are like, oh, I haven't got time to educate my kids on this situation. I haven't got time to do any out of school, if you're a teacher, curriculum things, because, you know, I've got to work in a fucking pub to make ends meet. And I think that's the situation that we're into. I mean,
there's a lot of bystanders. I think that's what we're looking at, is that in life there's so much work that needs doing. Everyone's just standing by, not doing anything, not saying anything. Like I said, there's not enough people wanting to educate, wanting to do the work for different reasons. Like I said, people haven't got the capacity. And other people are just, there's still people today in Britain in 2025 that says that they've never seen racism and it kind of doesn't exist. There's still the gaslighters out there, let's face it.
I mean, those are the people that are basically saying, well, they do see racism, but it works for them. They're not going to call it out, are they? Do you know what I mean?
We've split off into different camps. We've got bystanders, we've got people that are trying to make change, we've got people that are gaslighters. You know, there's so many different groups of people. But ultimately, there's not enough, like you said, doing enough to try and change society, and and the culture that we're living in is toxic in so many different ways, isn't it? Yeah,
it's such, it is an uphill struggle. That's literally exactly what it is.
And work and life has blended into one now, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have any hobbies. Do you have any hobbies?
No,
every hobby has to be monetized for us to be able to carry on doing it. It's ridiculous. I don't want to have to monetize my fucking hobby. Do you know what I mean? I want to go and just do something because I like doing it. I shouldn't have to be thinking, oh, can I make this into something that can help me live a better life? People shouldn't be doing that. So I think
everyone's exhausted. Like I said, from all the work. And we live in this toxic culture. Mental health statistics have gone up. Knife crime's gone up. Hate crime's gone up. Everything's gone up. In fact, of everybody is mentally not in a good place, and a lot of people are living their lives with addiction, drugs, knives, violence, social media. How have we even got to this point?
I mean, in short, everything's gone up apart from the quality of life. And I think what's happened is it's like a ratchet effect in terms of, let's look at it in a few different ways. The government, we had 15 years of the Tory government, and that was bad, and they were toxic as fuck. I mean, Boris Johnson called Muslim women letterboxes, and then Muslim crime rates went up. And then, like, they were bringing in various policies and laws that, like, you know, well, they cut £2 billion from youth services. And of course, like, we got rid of that government, but nothing went back. Nothing changed back to how it was 15 years prior. And so, like, it is the ratchet effect. Like, the government that comes in is not doing anything nearly as fast as it should be to help mitigate the effects of what we're feeling from the previous governments. And it will continue like that until real change has happened. Because what essentially people like Boris Johnson are doing when they're referring to people as letterboxes or pickaninnies, called black people, is validating the racist guy who, up until a certain point, didn't think that his views were accepted in society because his views weren't accepted in society. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that's, like, obviously Boris Johnson did another thing about, like, talking about slapping women on the bottom. And, like, that then makes a sexist or misogynistic guy be like, oh, well, I'm validated now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm right now. And then that sort of, it's like the domino effect, but instead of there being lots of little dominoes, it's like every domino is slightly larger than the last one.
Yeah.
And if you have politicians doing that, and then also another way to look at it, the police, you have the murder of Sarah Everard, you have the Charing Cross police report, which found that police were institutionally racist, homophobic, transphobic, sexist. And then you've got multiple reports and multiple instances of police being, found guilty of misconduct. And so when people look at politicians and people look at police and they say, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing that, like, that makes them say, oh, well, I'm not as bad as them. Yeah. I'm not a murderer, so I wouldn't murder a woman, but, like, I'm not that bad, but I can call a woman a stupid fucking bitch or whatever.
And what you're pointing out there is the systematic influence.
Yes.
And, I've read a lot of data, and ultimately racism, misogyny, all these toxic behaviours are upheld and promoted within systems, governments, police, education. That's why it breeds out into society.
And then imagine...
Because so maybe the solution, I'm jumping to a solution, is how do we navigate these systems that are upholding all this misogyny, racism? That's the bigger complex.
I mean, like, it's ambitious as fuck, but it's getting rid of the fucking governments. Getting rid of the two-party system, fucking fuck off reform, fucking Labour... Like, war criminals, all of them, I don't give a fuck. Racists, war criminals, misogynists, sexist, like, they all need to just get in the fucking bin, if I'm honest. Like, they are the people in charge of this country. And they have global influence as well. And if they are doing things, fucking, this stat didn't make the main news, but I'm sure you saw it because I reported it because I did the research myself and I have every single name of every politician. Between 2022 and 2024, 10% of politicians in the House of Commons were under investigation or found guilty of sex crimes. Now, there are only 650 politicians, members of parliament. If there were 10% of any other workplace, the whole workplace would be shut down, right? Yeah. So the solution is fucking get rid of them. Because even if the ones that aren't taking part in those kind of crimes and conduct, they're still upholding the system. It's like when you say, oh, all cops are bastards. And it's like, oh, well, not all cops are bastards. Well, they're still part of the system and they're upholding it. Every cop knows a bad cop. That's a fucking fact.
Accountability, like you said, the systems are upholding all this toxic behaviour, and of course it's going to outspill into society. I want to jump onto toxic masculinity because that's why I wanted a male voice in this conversation with me, because I've been working as an educator, I've worked in workplaces, schools and society, and toxic masculinity is rife. Okay, we saw adolescence, it's brought the conversation obviously out a bit more. I wasn't surprised by adolescence from working in schools. A lot of people was like, is that what schools are really like? I was like, yeah, they are. School teachers have no authority, they don't get much respect in the school system now. So some of the instances are being called a fucking bitch, being told I'm going to get my glasses smashed in, threatened with violence. There's lots of instances where boys will say, I'm not listening to you because you're a woman. There's lots of articles out there now where teachers have spoken up about the treatment in schools. And I've got this report and it talks about the influence of social media. So I'd like to get your perspective on how is social media breeding toxic masculinity?
Right. First I have to prefix this with my my take on toxic masculinity, the term.
Yeah.
There is nothing masculine about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I think it shouldn't be a word that's used. I think that we need to scrap the term toxic masculinity, because I think, you know, what do you define as masculinity? Capitalism has made us believe, or tried to make us believe, that masculinity is the fucking topless guy in a Diet Coke advert. We all saw those adverts in the 90s. There is nothing masculine about toxic masculinity. It needs to be another fucking word, whether it's just toxicity, whether it's fucking incel toxicity, I don't give a fuck. But it's not masculine. There is nothing masculine about it. Name one thing masculine about these people that are basically saying that men's lives are worthless unless they have money or a fucking sports car or whatever. It's nonsense. And these people, they are on the internet. And again, before I go off on that, who is in control of the internet? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the government's jobs to be. We've had an internet bill being on the cards for ages now. It hasn't changed a fucking thing. Like, there's still dog shit out there. Elon Musk bought Twitter, and I'm not calling it X because fuck that, it's Twitter. And he bought it, and it's now became a breeding ground for toxicity and, you know, anti everything. You know what I mean? Unless you're a fucking white guy, like, oh my god, I just can't even. Let me just explain. As somebody with a lot of followers, I have 30 million views every week on my page.
You get a lot of views, don't you?
I have messages and comments every day from accounts. These accounts are real people, but I'll look at the account and it'll have between 0 and 5 followers. Somebody has set up an account specifically to troll somebody, to insult somebody, to be racist, sexist, misogynistic, whatever. That should not be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. I think you should have to be ID'd to use the internet, social media platforms. And I know that can be a controversial take, because I understand that some people, specifically women, have been victims of domestic abuse, and they can't have their real name on social media. But we can counter that. Do you know what I mean? And again, like, the cause of much abuse is men on the internet watching other men on the internet, like Andrew Tate whipping a woman with a belt or whatever.
There's a statistic here, what I've got, and it basically says that some teachers reported children as young as 4 years old are referencing influencers like Andrew Tate. 4 years old.
I mean, like, again, a 4-year-old shouldn't be on the internet. What's the fucking 4-year-old doing on the internet? What was you doing when you were 4 years old? When I was 4 years old, I was drawing fucking Mr. Bump on a piece of paper. I was not. There was no internet. You know? And if there was, my parents wouldn't have let me have it. They wouldn't have let me use the internet. Why are they on the internet? So that is a combination of bad parenting, obviously bad governance, because we don't have protections for people using the internet, and just fucking bullshit, because Andrew Tate literally exists.
I know, and you know, it says here, the first exposure to porn is 13 years old, boys and girls. And, you know, 81.9% of participants are worried that young people are copying misogynistic behaviour they see online. So me, as working in schools, I've seen the copying, especially teaching drama.
What have you seen?
So when you teach drama and you do improvisation, they will improvise. A male student will improvise strangling a woman.
Right, okay.
They will improvise misogynistic behaviour and violence as a drama exercise. So, you know, performing arts creativity, it can bring out some darkness, and you can actually see what people are thinking. So that's where I've seen it. And then it's the everyday of fucking bitch, fucking slag, whore, slut shaming out of nowhere. You know, rating teachers on how they look. Female teachers. Dismissing them, speaking over them. Those are the kinds of behaviours happening in school. Then you've got the workplace. I mean, that's a whole new ball game. You know, women's health is being used against them. You know, going off on maternity leave, ageism, sexism. So it's come to the forefront now, this toxic masculinity, this misogyny. you know, what are the solutions? What are we know the system is a system.
Yeah.
What are we going to do in the system? So obviously mine is education. So that's where I'm coming from. My solution is that there has to be toxic masculinity, misogyny in the school curriculum. This has to be like an intervention.
Absolutely.
A safeguarding issue. So in school, if someone does something where you think that's dangerous, whether violent, or they're in danger at home, you log it on like a system.
Yeah.
So I think misogyny, toxic behaviour needs to be logged as a safeguarding risk because, you know, how can it spiral? Racism as well. They're not taken serious enough because these students that have called me a fucking bitch and threatened to smash my face in, they've been in school 24 hours later and I've received no apology. It's not even been, it's been accepted. So there's got to be intervention in the education system. And what are the consequences? What do you do?
I think
what are we doing in school?
What we need to do is we need to essentially create a better authority for schools to log, as you're saying, to log these behaviours. And I think these behaviours should be linked in a sense of, you know, like a kind of criminal record. They should be linked to that individual. And there should be, remember at school we were given, what was it called, the record of achievement?
Where is
the
it?
most meaningless thing ever. That just goes to show how much authority the schools have. They have nothing. You can lie about your GCSEs and get a job. Nobody ever checks. You know what I mean?
Checks.
Like, it's almost like schools have no authority to have any real impact on an individual's life apart from the experience that they have whilst they're at school. So I think that schools should be given an authority to mark these people, these students, in a certain way that will carry on for them in like a what is it? A sexual offence register. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we have that? Like, it's a very simple solution. The only people that could ever be contesting that is people who would not like it for various reasons for themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, why don't we have that? It's a very simple solution. It would not really cost that much for the government to implement. That's what I believe is needed. I want to see when anybody goes for a job interview, like, what is your school
record?
Record?
Forget the record of
achievements.
achievements. What's your record of behaviours?
Yeah, exactly. So that we have this record in place in schools, but then we also have a thing that where employees, kind of like diversity and inclusion, they have to check on that record as well. So then you really do feel consequences from how you behave in school, because you can do anything in school at the minute and you don't feel anything for it whatsoever.
My biggest issue is detentions.
Yeah.
You go to detention, it's either they just basically bring a book from the class and just
like what are you learning from detention?
Back in the
Where's
day,
the rehabilitation? Do you know what I mean?
So detentions need to be more intervention.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
You know, and my big thing is third parties, so a youth mentorship come in, and instead of writing lines and doing work, no, we're intervening these behaviours and these toxic thoughts with something to counteract it. So to me, if it's racism in the classroom or misogyny, there's a special detention for those people. You come, whether it's a training session, whether it's online learning, whether it's your local, if there's a youth centre left, or a charity, to come in and do intervention. There has to be some kind of intervention. Because in the workplace, if there is bad, behaviour in the workplace, HR intervene and obviously try and resolve it, and sometimes put people on training. We need some kind of specialist detentions in schools, because you can't say, don't say that. The end. So I think we need detentions and we need regular education. Like I said, the curriculum. I mean, of Mice and Men, finally it's gone. Some of these curriculums are out of date. I mean, Mice and Men, finally. I mean, why was it around for so long? That controversy sends me under every.
And what was the other
all
one?
The teachers that were just still like standing the ground wanted it, thought it was okay to use the language.
But I think there was another one. What was there was a Shakespeare one about the pound of flesh, the Merchant of Venice, and it's just like the most anti-Semitic thing ever. And I think, like, right now, it's about the greedy Jewish guy that wants to cut out a guy's heart because he owed him money or something. And I think that's fucked. You should not be teaching shit like that in schools. And they should not be doing Of Mice and Men either. Like,
it's gone finally.
When did it go?
Not long ago, because I remember there was it come out in the Guardian that they finally got rid of it. I was like, finally, it's gone.
That's
You
fine.
know, so the curriculum, I mean, for me, the school reform is skills-based learning.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when I was at school, school was meant to get you prepared for life.
Yeah. I
It
think
doesn't match. Life
Yeah.
now, we've got AI.
Yeah.
So if you think about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. So having skills, to me, is how you can overcome AI and still
Of course.
prosper.
Yeah, I think technology in schools, it needs to be focused on a lot more. Like as in, you know, woodwork.
Yeah.
And
Learn
making things
trades.
with your fucking hands.
Yeah,
do you know what I
learn
mean?
trades.
Yeah.
Because maybe they haven't got time to walk around being misogynistic. Let's keep
Yeah.
keep the
And,
kids
like,
busy. Art,
And
creative
that's
industries.
the thing as well, with more and more young people getting diagnosed with various things from the spectrum. I got diagnosed with autism 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And ADHD.
Yeah.
And I think what we have now is, because of social media, people's attention is all over the place anyway.
Yeah.
So if you can get a kid to focus on, you know, putting together some wooden flooring, a table,
Yeah.
a bench, whatever, and you can, like, there are certain programs around, I don't know if they're around now, but when I left school, where it was kind of like you go into, I went to a guitar making place, and it was just making guitars there, and you would go there and you would talk about your life whilst you're making this piece of equipment.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And I think there should be more things like that in schools where you can, like, learn, but also be guided in terms of thinking as well.
Yeah.
And I think what it is if we're going back to,
We need life skills.
Yeah. And we're going back to people and teachers not having the time to do that, or the government not having the money to put into out of school activities.
Well, there was a report about the curriculum in GCSEs, and they have advised that they get rid of some. There's too many, and it's too stressful. Because, like I said, let's look at society now in GCSEs.
Yeah.
And if you don't get them all, you feel like you failed.
Yeah.
So why not come out saying, I can build this. I got electrician skills.
Exactly.
I've got creativity skills. I've learned how to produce music. I've learned how to do this. So we need to build skills for the future, and then life skills like being anti-racist.
Yeah.
You know, like
being anti-racist is a
promoting
life skill.
inclusion.
Like,
It's because it's embedded inside it. A life skill. GCSE anti-racism. You know, GCSE misogyny.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to get the kids out the other side now with their mental health intact.
Yeah.
And skills, because, you know, I've contributed to a lot of press about Gen Z in the workplace, task masking. Gen Z are going in work and not doing anything.
Right.
Why is that?
Yeah.
And it's loads of reasons. They haven't come out with the right skills and confidence.
Yeah.
They don't talk on the phone. They've been having phone lessons at college. Nottingham College have been teaching them how to use the phone.
Yeah.
Because everything's online.
Of course. And I think there is, we do have to take into account that there was like a 2-year lockdown.
Yeah.
I know kids of my friends that have not had this. They've not been around to be in those vital years where they're going out in the world and communicating with people. They haven't had that. So I think we need to consider that as well. But I also think we do need government intervention, but we need some really fucking good billionaires to come into schools and be like, you know.
Yeah. Because I think we need to reframe school as skills building. So if a school can think, right, how can we embed some skills into curriculum, such as people skills, empathy skills, bricklaying skills. So I think if we can reframe school as skills building and as teachers, how can we, you know, help build skills in young people? Because, you know, for example, if I teach English one day, I'll teach English, get them to write, but then I'll get them to stand up and present. So I'll try and help them with presenting skills. Those little things in the classroom, think, right, if I've done this academically and it's boring as hell, what skill, confidence skills, speaking skills, collaboration skills, like try and pull that out of young people. I know it's hard for a lot of teachers because they're quite like academic minded, results driven. Whereas if we can reframe it into, okay, how do we build the right skills in young people? That might help their mental health. That might help their behaviour.
I think it will. I think the teachers with the academic sort of, what do you say? They want to get results. But as I said previously, the results that kids get in school, like, nobody asks you for those results anyway. Nobody cares unless you're going to further education or whatever. So, like, I think trying to communicate with those teachers and saying, like, look, we want to bring in personal life skills. We want to get something personable out of a barrier.
We've got mental health, we've got trauma, and we've got neurodiversity all in the school system now. And it will collapse because the schools, they cannot cater for, there's not enough staff.
Yeah.
They're all
exactly.
leaving. My school system kind of model is 20% in the classroom, well, 25% in the classroom, 25% online learning, 25% out with nature,
Yeah.
and 25% creativity.
Right.
We need to break up that go in and sit at a desk, because we can't do that.
No.
After COVID, no one wants to come back to work, and no one
Yeah.
wants to go in an office and sit at a desk, do they?
Yeah.
So why can we expect kids to go in 5 days a week and sit at a desk and focus? Like I said, a lot of lessons, you know, depending on the context, whether it's SEND, pupil referral units, mainstream, they can range from 30-minute lessons to an hour and a half. But ultimately, the quality of work, you're not getting a good quality of work in school now, because there's lots of other factors that teachers are burdened with now.
Yeah, and I think that's down to finances as well.
Money,
Like, I don't have the stats to how much money has been cut from schools.
Yeah.
But if 2 billion got cut from youth services, then, you know, I've got friends who are teachers who have been supplying their own school supplies and using their own money to get students to have these particular things that they need in lessons to learn and to advance. And I think, you know, it just seems like I'm beating the same drum, but the government just needs to put more money in. Right now, the government have got money to send F-15 fighter jets to Iran, but they don't have the money to, you know, like send to schools. Yeah.
All the services have been bled dry. Yeah. And then, like I said, we've got so many people in society that are struggling. Workplaces, you know, workplace complaints, behaviour. You know, we've seen it. Someone posts something online, and then the internet does the work, and they're sacked. Yeah. You know, one of the biggest HR problems now is WhatsApp groups.
Really?
And social media, people sharing.
Right.
You know, WhatsApp groups saying things on Facebook. I saw because when you work somewhere, you look up people's social media, don't you? Mm. You know, so what are HR meant to do now if they can see someone from the workplaces posting right-wing content? Like, how do we counteract all this negative social media in workplace, in schools?
I think that goes back to using ID for social media accounts. Realistically, like, it just has to be done. Like, I know that there will be some backlash from it, but we can't live in this period of time where, like, you've got people being fucking racist or sexist or whatever. And I think, like, if you do that, then there will be consequences. You could lose your job, or you would lose your job. And then again, we're making bigots afraid. Basically, that's what we need to do. Yeah. And I think it does take a multi-pronged approach, and it is really, really hard. And I think the best thing right now is just to speak to teachers. Right-minded teachers need to speak to other right-minded teachers, and maybe, I mean, again, it feels bad because it's like we're essentially asking people to do more work.
Yeah,
do you know
it's
what
collective
I mean?
work, isn't it? We need people to come together, don't we? We need the teachers, community, you know, all the government, you know. I think we're still, even though we know that the government is perpetuating a lot, you know, we've still got to call it out. We've still...
Yes, of course.
Can't accept it. So don't be a bystander. Why is it so important for people to take action? Yeah. Even if they feel like they're on their own.
I mean, I'm just going to highlight something you just said. Community is one of the things that we absolutely do not have right now. Yeah, we don't. Like, I remember being a kid and, you know, going to community centres. Like, I knew all my neighbours' names. Yeah. Right now, I live in the middle of London, and I don't know any of my neighbours' names. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think community is something that we have sort of misplaced along the way. Yeah. And I think that is also an effect that kids are feeling as well. Like, you know, how many of your parents' friends do you know? I know your parents, but they were friends with my parents. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we don't have that anymore. No. Like, not in most areas. And I think that if we did, and there was more, I don't know what it is. I don't know what has happened to make people feel and behave so isolated in a way. But I think that if we can get some sort of messaging out there that to just tell people to communicate and embrace community, then that would also help, because you know, just going back to, kids don't feel like they belong anywhere, and that's why they're on the internet. That is it, really, if you think about it. Like, I did a therapy, I want to say a course or whatever. It wasn't a course. I went to I did the Hoffman process. It's one of the world's sort of biggest sort of self-help therapy things you can do. It has a really good success rate, and you go away and you stay in this mad cottage with like 20 people, I think, was there. And the best way I could describe it is I took apart I just had a mental breakdown in 2019, and I took apart my life like it was a piece of furniture, and I put it back together with really strong glue. And like, I was really fortunate to be able to do that, and it changed my life, because if I didn't, I probably would have killed myself.
Yeah.
But like, we have to sort of understand that the feelings that I had then were like the feelings that young people have now.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they belong anywhere. They're not accepted, and they're not being listened to.
Yeah.
And I think it is down to teachers, but it is down to parents.
Yeah.
And it is like, parents need to not have their kids online. They need to have their internet fucking checked, so that kids can't go on these websites or social medias, whatever. And again, the ID for social media, like, all of these things need to be done at the same time, because it's just not working, whatever we've got right now.
And then just, that's really powerful what you said about your lived experience. How do you maintain now feeling like you belong, maintaining your mental health and staying resilient? Because there'll be a lot of young people out there that are struggling.
Yeah.
So what tips and I go to the gym, that's mine.
Yeah.
The gym's good for me. That's what I do. And authentic connections, and make sure I've got good friends that I can listen to them, they can listen to me, and we're authentic and we're open, and reading as well.
Yes.
What about you? Is there any books or anything that's helped you along the way?
Well, I'm very dyslexic, so I try not to read books. Yeah. Audio books are good, I think, but the main thing for me is something that I picked up in lockdown is just walking and being around nature. For me, I go to the gym, but for me, being around nature is like, you can just, as you've seen from my Instagram page, the backdrop for every post is a picture of nature. I am obsessed with the fact that you can go into a field or a park and you can see this fucking tree that is probably older than you, and it is grown and nobody's cut it down. Yeah. Like, and the fact that exists, and that we're in this timeline where nature really does thrive. And I know that there are issues globally, and I know the Amazon has gone to shit or whatever, but like, fuck me, fucking birds. Look how a bird builds a nest. Isn't that fucking crazy? That's some mad shit. Like, I think we really need to appreciate that despite everything seeming like it's fucked, global wars, genocide, whatever, we, particularly here in the West, are so fucking lucky.
Gratitude.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We are so lucky to be around things. Like, if I could go and fucking if I can go and just see the outside and hear birds and all that shit and breathe fresh air, or go and take a walk on in a field or on a beach or whatever, the last thing that I'm thinking of is, I'm gonna fucking call this woman a bitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there needs to be such a connection. Like, I think humans have lost that connection with nature.
Yeah, I believe that as well.
I think we fucking have. And, I think walking, so like, pretty much every Saturday I go on a walk, and I walk all the way up to Queen's Park, from Maida Vale to Queen's Park, and I walk fucking like 3-4 miles, and it's fucking sick. And I do it pretty much every Saturday night that I'm here. And on that walk I work through, like you said about my weekly videos.
Yeah.
My weekly videos about the news. On my walks I work through my feelings of the week.
Yeah.
And what I've done, what I've felt, and how I've reacted to that, and whether I reacted to something in a bad way or a good way or whatever, but I just digest it and I just understand it, and I just sort of, I walk with it, and it might not work for everyone, but it works for me.
But it sounds like you're building up self-awareness, and you're tuning into your feelings and emotions, because one of the things that young people will do is suppress and ignore. So again, opening up that space for young people or anyone in the workplace to actually express their emotion. And that's why I'm kind of link back to Mindseta, is that's what creative resources help to do.
Yeah.
Everyone watched Adolescence, a film, a TV series, and it sparked inner thoughts, inner feelings, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or a play or a song or a podcast. So engaging, if you can't walk in nature, this is to people that don't want to go and walk out with the trees. Can you listen to an album?
Yes, exactly.
Can you listen to a song? Can you look at some artwork? Can you engage with something that helps you to be in the moment, think and reflect? It sounds like that's what nature's doing for you.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly that. I mean, there is a thing that a lot of therapists say, and it's secrets die in exposure, right? So if you're harboring a secret, the likelihood is there's a shame attached to that secret, right?
Yeah.
And that, for me, is the same with feelings. If you are harboring a feeling that you do not want to talk about, then there is a shame attached to it. And I think if you can open up and you can talk about it, that shame will disappear. It'll die. Nobody's going to judge you because you've got this anger inside of you. Like, people are going to embrace the fact that you're talking about this anger. What's making you angry? What are you feeling when you're watching this stuff online? You know? And I think, particularly with young men, they are they're enticed by Andrew Tate and people like Andrew Tate because they look at that and they see that money has got him the body that he has. Yeah. Money has got him the cars that he has. Money has got him the women that he has, and money has got him the house that he has. And like, that's probably making them angry because they probably think, I don't have that, I probably won't have that, but if I'm as angry as this guy is and do what he suggests, then maybe I will get a bit of that. Do you know what I mean? But instead, if they was to just talk about that, then someone would be like, that's a silly way of thinking. Like, I measure my success by how I'm feeling, not from what I have. Yeah. And I've had a very nice life, fortunately. I've worked really, really hard. But like, some kid will probably see me and be like, "Oh, I walked here today. I didn't drive a car."
Because we're working class. We're from Wolverhampton. We're not from, you know.
We're just not like, even my dad, and everyone fucking knows who my dad is. But we were fucking poor until he got famous. We were fucking poor.
We all grew up in the same kinds of area, and we wasn't rich, was we? We was going to school, and we weren't balling. No, we was on the buses. No. We was hanging around chip shops. Yeah. You know, we weren't going to play tennis and paddle and nice country retreats and hotels when we were kids. We didn't have a privileged life.
And what mental health issues did we have? Yeah. Really? Like what? Obviously, I've been autistic my entire life, but because there was no stigma attached to it, because I didn't fucking know.
And we had no phones.
Yeah, we had no
phone. At the end of school, I got a brick Nokia.
I was just like the weird kid. I was just the weird kid that just kept on saying.
But I feel like we was all a bit weird. We was all weird, we was all characters. I think that's what was innocent about our school time. There was no phones. There was a brick phone by the end. I got a Nokia. But everyone was quirky and different. But it was all kind of embraced. I don't feel like not many people. For me, I don't feel like it was from seeing schools now to when I was at school. It wasn't that toxic. It was a bit playful banter. But like I said, even the fights, it was fist fights. It weren't knives.
It was fists. Yeah. Like,
it weren't crimes. It weren't schools. Our school never went into lockdown. The schools around the UK going into lockdown. And kids being handed knives. Did you get given a knife at school? Because there's kids now being given. Hold that for me, look after that for me. Yeah. I never saw a knife in school.
No, we didn't like it's just a different time. And I look at schools now, and it's kind of like a death circle, isn't it? Because we have stolen these kids' lives by making schools so there's no character. It's all sanitary, metal detectors, all that shit. Like, there's no character there.
It's dark. That's all I feel like. It's darkness. It's darkness. And then in the workplace, it's stress and over confusion because there's so much going on as adults now. Yeah. People are like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say anymore. Yeah. I don't know how to interact with marginalised communities in case I say the wrong thing. Yeah. So you've got adults panicking, maybe burying their head under the sand. Yeah. Just overwhelmed. And then you got the young people. It's dark. Like another report is on line today about them saying domestic abuse between 16 and 19 relationships have gone up. So there needs to be more education for people between the age of 16 and, well, that's college then. Yeah. So we're going to get to 16 and 19-year-olds now because apparently they need now more education. Yeah. So, you know, it keeps coming back to education. But unless someone's going to fund this, and help get this out, you know, how are we going to educate everybody? Everyone's saying it's education, but we need the funding and we need the actual execution.
I mean, I'd love for there to be like a silver bullet, but the only way to even get even close to that is, again, we feel like we're asking people to do more work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there has to be people lobbying government for this.
We need a collective
And the government probably won't do that. So that's why we need absolute change.
Because when adolescents come out, they were saying they wanted to use it as a resource for schools. There's all these headlines.
Yeah, I saw.
What's happened since?
I've spoken about this. I've spoken about this on the video.
I need to write to him. I'm actually going to campaign.
Keir Starmer said. So I covered this a lot.
Yeah.
I know the people that made Adolescence, a great piece of work. Keir Starmer had a round table with the producers of Adolescence.
So what next?
And then that was the same week that Keir Starmer, just after this roundtable thing, Keir Starmer was contacted by the mayor of Florida and the mayor's assistant. That's Ron DeSantis' assistant, and he said, we have Andrew Tate in Florida because Andrew Tate had left Romania to go to America, and they said we can arrest him and extradite him to the UK, and Keir Starmer ignored the letter. He ignored it. But that was in the same week that he had a roundtable meeting with the people who name-checked Andrew Tate in the actual fucking series.
Yeah.
So Keir Starmer doesn't care, if I'm honest. He doesn't care. And that's why we need absolute change. And that story, what I've just said, should have been covered by the press. The thing is, with the press these days, they don't fucking work backwards. I work backwards. So I saw that and I'm like, well, that's funny because he had a roundtable meeting. Really, that's one story.
Yeah.
It's not. And that's why we need better press. And a better fucking government. Keir Starmer doesn't care. He's just doing things for headlines.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
And it's scary because, like I said, we've got society needs support, education. And I think for me, one of the solutions, mentorship. You know, for young people need mentors now. Because, like I said, everything's on the teacher hasn't got time. So I guess when you was growing up, when you was a young male, who did you look up to? Who was your mentor? Was there somebody where you looked at them as someone that kind of influenced you in a positive way? And what can that look like now? And is there anyone now that you still look at? Apart from your dad, obviously.
Kids need to be around kids that aren't in the same schools.
Do
you know what I mean? They need
open the network in theory.
Exactly, which goes back to community.
Broaden.
Because
their network, meet new people.
If you remember in school, there was Wensfield High is a rival school with Copies. That's bollocks. There was never a fight between Wensfield High and Copies. And my cousins went to Copies, and I met kids from Copies, and I was friends with them. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that exactly what you said. Open the network, and let kids interact with kids from different areas in your towns, different schools in your towns, and it sort of gives them breathing space in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're seeing the same kids every day and that's your life in school,
and it's toxic. If you're in a friendship group and you're looking, thinking, I don't like the way that they're moving. You need to find
exactly, and especially if you don't have a big family. Now, I have a big family, so people I looked up to when I was in school is Nathan, who's my oldest cousin, and then Anushka, who's another one of my older cousins. And of course, it was through them that I met the people that I was friends with outside of school that weren't in my year and whatever. And I think that's what kids. If kids don't have big families, I think there needs to be some sort of community set up where kids can interact with other kids. Because did you ever used to go to a fucking, what's it called? Wacky Warehouse or whatever when you were a kid? Do you know what I mean? The play.
That was the school trip.
We go there and you make friends with other kids. And you don't know these kids aren't from your school. But
and that's where youth services come in. We need
that's what we need.
Young people can go to and engage in youth services and meet other people.
That's so.
Instead of sat at home.
That's absolutely correct. And those are the kids that I connected with the most, people that I didn't have to see every fucking day in my form. Do you know what I mean? And those are people that I ended up. I'm still friends with them to this day.
And coming off the phones as well. It's coming to do whether it's skills building, creativity, not being on the phone, engaging. We've got to really. And a lot of schools are good with phones. They have got strict policies. It's not allowed if you see it, it's confiscated. So I feel like a lot of the schools are cracking down good about phone policies, which is good, but it's what's happening after school, what's happening when the kids go home, young people, if they're just sat in the bedroom scrolling, we need to stop that as well. We need to get children out, find a new tribe, find another community,
Yeah.
rather than just your school friends, especially if it's toxic as well.
Yeah, and there's still, I don't know if they have them, but there's still like, what happened to all of the football clubs, swimming clubs,
Yeah.
tennis clubs? What happened to
Yeah.
all of those? The Jenny Lee Centre, is that still
Yeah,
a thing,
the
or
Jenny Lee.
is that
Isn't it apartments now?
It's a exactly Jenny Lee Centre. You
Go
go
on.
to Jenny Lee Centre
Yeah.
and you do some fucking badminton or whatever. I used to fucking hate it, but I did
Yeah.
it, and I met other people, and I did something
Yeah.
that was out of school, and now it's flats or something.
Yeah. Bougie
that's
apartments.
a luxury apartment.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I think
That's
you've
a
got a
perfect
chance. Like a
example.
housing estate. Like they just built new properties.
Yeah.
You know. But I guess, how can young people find a positive mentor online? Who do you see
Yeah.
online? Male positive mentors, or just because like if there's some young people watching, think, well, who are these people? You're one of
Yeah.
them. Who else? Who else do you look at or follow or think?
Yeah.
That they do great work. Even I'm
Wow.
trying to wrap my brains as well and think.
Who am I looking
Yeah.
at? I mean, like,
who am I looking at?
But this is the thing. I generally don't doom scroll.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, even though I'm on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at it, it's just my news.
Yeah.
The personal stuff I leave out.
Yeah.
Because I experience my personal life. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it would be hard for me to say who I look up to.
I'll
on
tell
the
you why.
internet,
Had someone coming to my mind. So I follow Paul C. Brunson. I think he's gives great advice, and his podcast is brilliant, and it is like an inner work reflective, and he does post a lot of information about male vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Stevens, he's a good voice out there. He's talked about therapy and working on himself.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and he's
spoke to
got a
him the other
book
day.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and people like yourselves who are sharing their stories, and opening up and being vulnerable. So there are some really positive men out there.
Oh yeah.
Sharing their journey and their life
Yeah.
as well. Can you think of anybody else?
I mean, because I'm obsessed with fucking politics and global issues.
Yeah.
I like Owen Jones.
Yeah.
And he's somebody I've met along on the journey that I've been on. Who's
Yeah.
been great. And I'm gonna murder his name. Sace Holmes Lewis.
Yes.
Fucking legend, that guy.
Mentality,
Yeah.
Amazing
Fucking
work he's doing in the community.
Yeah, I was. I followed him years ago before I even started Danny fucking Price, and then like I was just seeing him just grow and just be so consistent with what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's great.
And Kahindi Andrews, I went to
Yeah.
his event. He's just got a book out.
Yeah.
Nobody Can Give You Freedom, about Malcolm X.
Yeah.
And Malcolm's theory and he predicted what was going to happen. So he's done some great work. He was going around Birmingham looking at races in Birmingham, and then he went over to America, met Malcolm's daughter. So he's very much talking about, he's good because he's an academic, he's a professor, but he brings all the world problems under one umbrella.
Yeah.
Colonialism, genocide, war. He's really good at framing it and explaining it in a really good way, educational way as well.
Yeah.
So I think he's a great person that is looking at societal problems and opening up, and again, and sharing his lived experiences as well.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need people talking about their lived experiences and how they relate to societal problems.
Yeah.
What societal issue are you talking about if you have not experienced how that's affected you? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are you talking about whatever societal issue is if it hasn't affected you? Because that's the thing. Like, that's why we speak about them, is because they have dramatically affected us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think with toxic masculinity, I think TikTok is the breeding ground.
Yeah.
But it all existed in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think it's always been there, but it's just evolved, and TikTok's the platform of where it's being expressed. So I guess for you, when you growing up, what was your ideology of what it is to be a man? Was there anything that influenced you, or anything you saw, or how did you build up your idea and of masculinity, and just thinking about it as you were growing up into teenage years?
Well, as I referenced earlier, like, capitalism sort of was like, masculinity is big, muscly men, fucking nonsense. And I'll just be straight. Because there were various issues with my two parents fucking hating each other, I didn't get much out of either of those relationships for a long period of time. So I didn't have any reference point for any kind of masculinity at all.
Yeah.
And I think my neurodivergence, obviously in hindsight, looking at it now, in perspective, I think it was my neurodivergence that made me sort of go into myself in a way. In primary school, I was very fucking loud. I was the loudest kid in school. I was called the funniest kid in school in primary school. And I went to secondary school, and because of the issues at home, I sort of regressed quite a lot. And then when I left and went to college, and then came out of college, I didn't have anywhere to express myself at all. You can't express yourself on a fucking building site. And for me, it was, again, the kids that I met outside of the school that gave me my sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends, Stuart Price, I met his brother, Gavin Price, who was probably 1 year older than me, and then Stuart was probably 1 year older than him. And like, they were my mentors when I got kicked out of my mum's house. She kicked me out when I was like 16, I think it was. I went and stayed with them and their parents, and they took me in, and it was sick. And it was really funny because Julie, their mum, used to go to the bingo hall that my mum worked at. My mum would be like, "How's Daddy?" And she'd be like, "Oh yeah, he's fine." And like, I always used to think that was fucking weird. But those guys, Stuart taught me how to play the guitar. He got me into music. He taught me how to read tab, and then like, that was my idea of masculinity. Wasn't so much, I wasn't looking for masculinity or looking for that. It was just like, you know, I just wanted to belong somewhere and snog loads of girls, and it worked. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I went and learned to play an instrument, and then I was just happy because I had a release. Do you know what I mean? And belonging, absolutely. So I can fully say that my idea of masculinity when I was 16, between 16 and fucking forever, is being like a cringe thing. Masculinity, cheesy, it's cheesy. Masculinity to me now is a guy that can, you know, tell his friends that he loves them. My idea of masculinity is a guy who can raise his kids. My idea of masculinity is a guy who, you know, will walk fucking 2 hours to go and speak to a girl he likes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, masculinity and what we've been taught is bollocks. Like, if you think for one fucking minute that, like, all this nonsense in romantic films or whatever, do you think for 1 second that I reckon that I could go up and fucking start talking to a woman in a fucking supermarket like they do in the films? No, because that's fucking harassment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like, my idea of masculinity is not the same. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I was writing down. I wrote out, you know, with the toxic bit, a lot of men are acting out negative emotions. Like we said, the feeling is being suppressed or it's being projected on a woman. So I guess the next question I want to explore is, you know, who gets hurt by this toxic masculinity? We were men, and everyone gets hurt. Everyone gets hurt. Because when you start acting out negative behaviours and emotions, everyone's getting impacted by it. So if we can talk about the impact of this, what is it doing? Well, we know violent crimes have gone up. Domestic between even from 13 up to 19 is prevalent now in young teenage relationships. They're suffering domestic violent, toxic relationships.
I think as well, it's the idea that men are weak if they talk about their feelings. Like, I don't know if you have a person in your life right now.
I'm single,
But when you have had men in your lives, what were your views when they spoke about how they felt? So did any of them speak about
in my early 20s, I'll be honest, if I had a boyfriend that cried, I would see that as weak, because again, we've all been conditioned, haven't we? We've been part of the conditioning as well. But obviously we've gone and then opened our eyes, broadened our perspective, and start to unravel what we was taught about ourselves, especially as black people.
Unlearn, basically.
You know, you get taught beauty standards is white and blonde and skinny. As a black person with afro hair, you get taught, you know, if men cry, that's not attractive and that's weak. So, you know, we're getting conditioned from film, TV, soap operas, everything. So even I, in my early 20s, was seeing a man cry as weak. I wouldn't want to engage with a man that cried.
That's fucking
I know,
crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. Even when I think about, but then I was kind of just walking around life, not stepping out and looking in, not zooming out, and that's, You know, that's what you do when you're young.
Yeah.
You don't really do the research. You don't read. You don't engage. Especially our generation, we didn't really get into politics in our early 20s.
Yeah.
I wasn't following politics or anything like I am now.
Yeah.
So it was a different time there. We just kind of walked through life, not really awake, I feel like.
So do you think in some way that the young girls also need to be sort of not in a way spoken down to or whatever, just be like, there needs to be some communication.
Give the space, because like now if I was in a relationship, I'd make sure I gave space to a male partner to be open and vulnerable. So what is a female's kind of, how can we support men is open up that space and allow space and encouragement to be open and vulnerable. But obviously the man's got to be open to that as well. And I'd like to move on. I think if we can think about some questions now. So imagine we're in a classroom now, and we've got a group of students, and we want them to think about some things or some questions. Like, because part of Mindseta, the work that I do, it's not about giving information, it's about prompting inner reflection. So a set of questions that a classroom could sit around and talk about. So one for me is, I would really like, if I was running a session, to ask every person in the room, male, female, whatever, how they identify, to share their view on gender and relationships. I think that would be a good signal for a teacher to see what people's ideologies are, or thought processes, because we need to be kind of checking, don't we? And I think in the workplace, if you have a training session on misogyny, ask everyone to share what their views are. We have to share the views, don't we, in a safe space? Because if someone has got some toxic views, listening to someone else that hasn't might help them. Like I said, that peer influence. Like, we need to understand what's happening within groups of people, whether in school and in work. So my question would be, everyone out there, is to share your view of gender and relationships. So that's a reflective question. Is there any reflective questions that you ask yourself, or you could ask young people to think about?
If I was in a class now, with
there's a group of kids,
I would probably pick out 4 kids and get them to stand up, and I'd ask them, what do they want? Like, as I said, people just need to be heard. If we can find out what these kids want, what do they want right now? What do they want? What do they want right now? And what do they want in the future? Right now, they could want ice cream. But in the future, like, what do they see themselves in 10 years? If somebody asked me when I was that age, nobody asked me when I was that age, but if somebody did, I don't know what I'd have said, to be honest. But I would have liked to have been asked. So
giving them space to be heard and seen, isn't it? So really good. Another one is evaluating their own behaviours and attitudes. I feel like, again, if I was with a group of students, I'd say to them, okay, you're in a classroom. A male student has said to a female teacher, I'm not listening to you because you're a woman. What are you going to do in that? You witnessed that. What are you going to do anything? Are you a bystander? You know, do you behave like that? Have you behaved like that? What is your attitude towards that? So we need young people to evaluate your own attitude. So that's an exercise you can do in the classroom, or you can do in the workplace. And also, I feel like what we need to do, if you've got an idea, is how do we build confidence in young men and empathy? Is there anything that you think could work? Tips for teachers that, you know, are working with young boys and want to address this toxic masculinity?
It goes down to interaction with kids there. Like, confidence, so I didn't really have any confidence when I was a kid. And I kind of, faked it for a lot of the time. But I think we can goad some confidence out of young men if we just ask them simple questions like, what makes them happy? You know what I mean? What makes them happy? What is something that they have done that has made them happy? Because then they are expressing something that they've created, or something that they've drawn, or something that they've thought about that was really great, or a funny joke or whatever. And you get them to try and express that in a class. Like, you know, it's kind of like a show and tell for yourself. You know what I mean?
I like that, because in a lot of special educational needs, the day starts with that. Sometimes I've worked in some schools where the children will come up and say how they're feeling that day. If some of that framework, because again the neurodiverse have got special needs, they're not good at communicating, and we all have to know how they're feeling. If some of that framework can go in other settings, and people, like I said, that emotional check-in, it helps with that vulnerability, doesn't it? It helps with opening up to share how they're feeling, not be embarrassed. If schools can have that as a regular practice in the classroom.
Yeah, and I think as well with the thing about sort of getting them to express something, there is room there for boys and girls or to be placed together, to be sort of encouraged to create something together as well.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean?
Collaboration.
Yeah, between opposite sexes, that is, because like in schools, I don't know if it's like this anymore, but girls are smelly and all that.
Yeah.
Like I interacted with loads of girls in schools, like in my school, just because it wasn't a thing. But like there was just a whole attitude of like, oh, if you hang out with girls, you're a girl or you're gay or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I think if you can encourage boys and girls to create something together, like projects or whatever.
I like that.
That communication, like you will as I said earlier, I worked in River Island. I was the one guy out of 21 members of staff.
Remember you worked in River Island?
I worked in River Island. And I was the only guy who worked there. Yeah. And there was 21 members of staff and there was 20 girls and me. And I would say that was my biggest learning period of my entire life. Do you know what I mean? And I think if we can get kids of the opposite sexes to be together and to create something, collaborate and communicate with each other, I think that would really help so fucking much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there is not enough of it.
Yeah, and I think ultimately if you're a teacher today and you want to take action, play adolescence in school, put it on. Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of kids have probably seen it, but if I was working full time in a school and there was issues of toxic masculinity, I would get my class and I'd scrap whatever lesson was going on that day. I'd be like, we're going to watch Adolescence, and let's stop it at certain points
and talk about
let's talk about it. Use Adolescence as a resource. It's brilliant. It's really good. So use that, and part of the e-learning that I'm building is using creative resources. So part of the course that I'm developing will be looking at different songs, rap lyrics to some that are misogynistic and others that aren't, to make learning relevant, to make young people connect to it.
I think as well, doing the thing with the rap lyrics is fantastic, and I think you should also look at people like Eminem. We all know his lyrics. We like those lyrics, whatever. But if you look at his attitude over the years, now he has a daughter, now he's a grandfather and whatever, and you can show the difference to what is a show and what is reality to the kids, then that would be great. Yeah.
Is there any other tips for young people that you would say for the workplace, if we're seeing misogyny or any toxic behaviours in the workplace, how should people call it? Because this is the biggest problem with workplaces, is that everyone's scared to say something. So if you was in River Island and you saw some problematic behaviour or any workplace, how would you approach it, or how have you approached it? Just tips for people at work.
I think one of the most important ways to approach things that might result in conflict is asking questions. Like, I think if you see somebody make a misogynistic joke or comment or whatever, say, why did you say that? And like sort of try and because in a way it's kind of embarrassing for the other person because they have to explain why it's funny or explain whatever, but it's also like you're engaging with the person, and as we've said multiple times, people want to be heard and listened to. So if I have seen instances of racism, or like if somebody's told a racist joke or a misogynistic joke, I'd say, why is that funny? And you sort of get them, you get them to think, and you get them to understand that it isn't funny, that you don't get it. Do you know what I mean? I think entering those kind of situations as a war or as like an attack is not the way to do it. I think asking questions is so key. Questioning tactic, and that's one of the strategies I always recommend, because the days have gone where you go, you can't say that. You're just opening up for why can I not say that? Oh, you can't say anything these days. Yeah, exactly. You're all woke. The whole woke. So why is that funny? Or what do you mean by that? That's one of my tips. Yeah, absolutely. Or getting them to repeat it. It's like, can I just check? Did you say? Yeah. And get them to say it again. Yeah. That's it. Always sounds silly the second time that they say it. Like, people who say those kind of jokes, I think they have an attitude that they've achieved something by doing it, and then when you ask them to repeat it a couple of times, that makes them feel stupid. which is like maybe not the best thing, but like it will diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
Or help to.
I think moving forward, what do you hope? what do you think we can do as I mean, like I said, we talked about the government, but what can we do as a society now moving forward?
I think let's act like the government isn't going to do anything, because it probably won't.
Yeah. What can we do?
Community support, family support, everything. Like
let's just do it ourselves, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to prove that a concept works.
Yeah.
And even when you do prove that a concept works, the government probably won't do anything. If you look back to the Channel 4 program, The School That Solved Racism, did you remember that? Did you watch that?
Yeah. And the school that banned mobile phones. That was another good one.
And they basically they moved away from kids being racist, and they educated kids in a way. And they did this with their own money, and they presented it to the government, and the government still didn't change the curriculum.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that the government won't do anything. We say probably won't. Then, unfortunately, it's a case of we just need to
come together.
We need to come together as communities. We need to, even the pub garden, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think parents need to meet each other and communicate. Like, I think parents need
community,
to
we need community. Yeah. Do it ourselves. Like I said, if there's a head teacher out there or a senior manager, get everyone on board.
Absolutely.
And make a plan and execute.
I know that like teachers might think, this is a lot of work, but if you do that initial lump of work, things will get so much easier. Because if you think that it's a lot of work to communicate with other teachers and get yourselves together, then you're going to be even more stressed out when kids are bringing knives to school. Each other up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, my hope with Mindset, the whole plan is to engage everyone with artistic approaches to self-development, anti-racism, toxic masculinity, because we need to come out of the everyday, and the arts and actors and music takes us into another space, and it helps us develop as people. And the arts is still undervalued. It's still such an undervalued tool. It should be used so much more than it is in schools, than it is in the workplace. I'm grateful for the workplaces that have allowed me to go in and bring in actors and give people an immersive experience. And I want to do that in schools, and I want to get digital learning, because I do, the reality is kids are on smartphones or on laptops. They might as well do something beneficial on there. If I can give them something beneficial to do on there while they're on there, then that's helped solving the problem as well. So I'm kind of putting it out there to people that want to engage in helping to educate in a creative way, to reach out to me. And once I'm developing this e-learning, I'm happy to give it out, to say to some schools, look, you can have some for free. It's not for me, it's not all about capitalism, making money. It's about legacy, agency, and making some change out there, and really helping change society. Because like I said, I think we've got to act like we've got to do it ourselves. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's what you're trying to do. There's loads of people out there doing great work, and I think if we all get ourselves organised, we can make changes, can't we?
I think with that as well, everybody that is, I did a talk, I think it was Leeds University years ago, and it was when I was working in music. And one of the last lines that I said was, if everybody was looking out for the person next to them, we'd all be in a much better place right now. And I think what you've just said, as in people that are all doing individual things, like there needs to be some sort of communication between all of them, where you can all help each other out, and like you can come to London and do a thing down here, and other people can come up to Manchester and do a thing there, and sort of cross-platform everything and sort of just work together and just be a lot more united front. Do you know what I mean?
So what's your predictions for 2025, the rest of the year? What do you think is going to happen?
Oh my God! Like, what do you think? Do you think in the world?
Will it get better, or will we kind of get worse before it gets better?
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah,
definitely.
The tipping point.
Like, what right now in 2025, we're going through the same thing that we went through back when we was at school, as in we've got one of the most powerful countries in the world trying to invade loads of people in the Middle East, say that they've got nuclear weapons or whatever. That's some George Bush shit. So I think it's going to get a lot worse. But I think, as much as I hate social media and what various people on social media have done, I do find myself being grateful for the opportunity to speak about real news and to look through the propaganda and to counteract the propaganda. And I'm grateful for people who are opening their eyes and seeing it for what it is, and seeing that the common denominator is the people that are the people in the government who are telling you that foreigners are trying to come over and take all of your fucking benefits and whatever. And the reality is, if you stop fucking bombing other countries, then there'll be less immigration. So even the racists can get on board with that, you fucking cunts. Anyway,
this is it. There's so much work to do, and you know, it's been so good to unpack it all. And I think, you know, like I said, be underneath your ranting,
right.
you know, your story and your lived experience will help so many people, because, you know, like you said, people will see you and think you're living it up, but ultimately, you know, I know the journey. You know, you've been through the trenches, you've been on a journey, and as a male, you've come out the other side, and you know, you're happy now, you're in a relationship, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
And you know, you're doing great work. So you're an example. I hope young people, when they watch this, an example of someone, you know, that has had difficulties in life, can work through it and find ways to move forward, and you know, and live positively and happy, and find that belonging.
Yeah, in fact, like, I would want to stress as well to any young boys who are watching this, like, success is not having a nice car or even a house or any of that fucking shit. Success is how well you're feeling right now. And if you're not feeling well right now, then you are not successful, no matter what anybody says. So you need to just check yourself out and just fucking embrace yourself.
Yeah, there you go. We'll end on that. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Been great to talk. And yeah, Mindseta, we're going online. We're going to be doing more in-person workshops. So yeah, just tune in. Keep following, keep supporting. We'll all support each other, and yeah, make changes and help society, culture be a better place.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having me.